feminine principle forming one union to become a balanced macabre. You tied the knot. The two became one. The red and the blue became purple. The mortal became immortal.
Oh, the red and blue became purple. Yo, I got a red and blue cord here, and when it's all bundled up together, now where did I put it? I had it in my lap. It looks purple. No, what did I do? I might have flung it. I got excited.
Yeah, I was just about to break down the more science.
Yeah, that's some navigation science, right?
Ancient technology.
So if we went through more short of the round table literature, yeah, and we went through our Clock of Destiny literature, and then we went through the history of Noble Drew Ali as part of our Moorish studies, we know Noble Drew Ali was a merchant marine.
I didn't know
And his
that.
travels allowed him access to the knowledge of the navigation of the seas. He was able to pair that with his Cherokee heritage in order to see what was done and how to undo it.
Now you know what? I was looking at you, Chief Rod. You look like you from the Carolinas, man. I'm serious. You got some bloodlines in the Carolinas.
I'm Mississippi Clay Dirt walking, baby.
Did you hear that? That almost sounds like blues, man.
That old Mississippi Delta where we come from, out the dust of the fields to the green of the
land. That's a song right there. That's a song. Pull out the guitar, pull out the banjo. That's a song right there, bro.
Look, we used to freestyle the blues long before these boys was rapping over Pro Tools. We used to skit and scat in the fields when they was talking about holly rocking in the clubs in the city. Hip hop is ancient. It's the way we talk to ourselves.
You know what? Now you talking music, and music got knots. Music got hooks.
Yeah. You can't have a hook if you ain't got a knot. Because the hook got to be fastened to something in order to reel in the fish. That's why the knots in music is called notes. It's an anagram.
Bam! Man, if I had a special effect, I would have had the screen go boom. That's hot.
Yeah. So when you look at them, you can see that the main musical S symbol goes back to that figure 8, but it has breaks in it, which tells you the breaks separate the rate of the pitch of the music. That's why you got something called a music scale. Because when you know what the pitch and the scale is, then you know what note being played. And this is how you arrive at the A tone. And Farrakhan told y'all about the A tone at the Million Man March.
Yo, this is hot. Yo, can I put up a clip, Chief Rod, of the Sinners where they jammed a little bit? Just a quickie.
I'm the guest. I'm on God's show.
Hold on a second, family.
That came from Europe versus the Mississippi tribes on the land. There's so much symbolism in that movie. That movie is like telling the same story I've been telling for the last 6 years. Look, they call us lichens because we look like kin when we're not in our animal skin.
Damn, that's another line.
Look, they suck blood and we literally wear wolves.
What you talking about?
We wear wolf pelts to war. but they known for sucking baby blood. They are the vampires. Plays out in the
They do that down the street.
plays out in the Twilight Saga. Who do we have to defend us against the incursion of the vampires? Those priests from old Mississippian culture from the city we call New Orleans, the big E&O. This is where our spiritual defense system was. Because the Port Nola was the intake for all immigrants to the mainland until the hull got breached by the good ship Plymouth. So now we are taking on other vessels because now we being flooded by aliens. Cowboys and aliens. So when the aliens came and breached the hull, they established a corporate jurisdiction in Admiralty and Maritime, which takes you back to Uniform Commercial Code, which takes you back to Admiralty and Maritime control of the high seas by the warring tribes of the Moorish nations.
Man,
and this is why they call some Tony Moore, some Blackamore, and then they call some Phil Moore.
Wow. You know what? You got me thinking. That's a knot. Special acknowledgement to Muhammad Ali. He was a knot master, knew how to whip. Mm-hmm. He knew how to whip. The knot. The knuckles.
Yeah. What happened to you when you get rheumatism in your hands? Your knuckles knot up.
Oh. Arisha Stone, what was that? What kind of knot stick did you have? Did you just had right there in the screen, man? Looked like a gold knot.
Yeah, when I came on initially, we were talking about opening knots and portals. So when you were talking about the winding of the chakras and everything, that are different chakra nodes. Just real quick, and I'll get out the way. The intentions of the knots. Each knot, each chakra, each knot has an intention, and when you knot it and you blow on it, that's the ritual. That's what I was getting to about how Arabic actually stole our culture and reversed everything on us, or Islam reversed it, like he was just saying about the Moor science. It's this Arabic magic versus Moor magic, pretty much. So
get that yellow stick while you talking to us, man.
They play around in the 18th dynasty.
Yeah, especially with the Moors. But the wrapping of the serpent, the interlocking of those two serpents, or the serpent and the roots, those are all spells. So that's what I'm initially thinking about. Like when you talk about the spiritual knots, like he said, tying the knot or tying a Lucifer. These are all spiritual references that they're telling you what it is, but we're kind of missing a lot of what it is. Like when you start studying more science temple, or even if you study Celtic, when you're looking at those Celtic symbols, and we can say wherever the Celtic came from, but those are all knots. Those are spiritual knots, like he said in language. Arabic is language.
That's true science.
Yeah. Now the Arabs or so-called Muslims or Sufis, because that's why I told you initially, the reason I even started studying Voodoo was through Sufism. Sufism has you saying different dhikrs, saying different prayers, saying different rituals all throughout the day, and you're counting the knots in your fingers. Literally, you see what I'm saying? So that's a ritual within itself. It's ancient magic that you know how to do, protect yourself, to ask for abundance. It's the same thing when you start tapping into Ifa and all these other things. The only difference is the Arab, when they bring you into Islam, the first rule number one is forget all your old entities, forget all your old cultures, and forget your people, forget your ancestors, while bigging up their ancestors. So the power of the knot is like the Kaaba had what we said 99 different deities inside the Kaaba before they cleaned it out. And they all had different cultures and traditions in there.
Well, it depends on which how deep you go with. Because some it was 99 idols, and in other renditions it was 360 idols.
That's it.
You know, so but it was represented by all of the tribes of the region. Those were called Tehalims. If you remember in the Bible, Abraham, no, what Abraham's daughter, but I think it was his granddaughter, left with the family Tehalim because that was the symbol for that family's ritual power. It was the centerpiece for the family altar, which the daughter is the one who's supposed to carry the family's hereditary wealth rights. So she take the Tehalim, meaning that whoever she married is going to be the man of the house now. This is why it's good. If you also remember in the Bible, it said man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. But you got to also remember religion. The word religion means to tie back.
See that religion means tie back?
Yeah.
Wow.
To tie you back to something, to bind you down. Because it's a secret code of religion called Amen. The Amen spell is the spell of the 18th dynasty Kemetic priest wars to prevent the ones with the blood and the white from being seen by the rest of the world. This is why they was left in darkness.
This is deep.
When you go back to that Kabbalah part, those traditions are in the Hadith. The knots of Anansi. The knots of Anansi. You know what Anansi is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anansi is a spider deity. Or a neighbor, he deals with knots. All these different things are tying realms together. When you're talking about portals, you're talking about realms. And Nancy and a labor are loosely, I'm not gonna say they're the same, but loosely kind of the same kind of jobs. They're tying things up throughout the universe. Like the mycelium network, those are knots or roots under the ground, right? Tying everything together.
Yeah, it's funny to say that because the Anasazi tribe break up and go and bring all of the tribes back together.
We all connected. We all connected.
And they try to sell it as a fighter.
The Celtic knots, that means that everything is an infinite loop and energy and everything else. That's why, like I said, everything's ritual. You're jumping the broom and tying the knot. It's ritual. You know what I'm saying? All those knots are rituals. Everything intention you when you put your intention into it, you lock it. You said it earlier about putting oil on each one of those knots. Now you're anointing the knot. Then once you're finished doing the ritual with the knot, you throw it down river and let the river take it. You see what I'm saying? They're cutting the way too early, but
that's deliberately done though, because they don't want proper pair bonding between mother and child.
So that goes back to they're trying to delete our ancient cultures, and in those something so simple as those knots, you're realizing how it goes into all these different things. The tying the knot between the man and wife, or the connection from mother and child, is that like they could say it's a knot or whatever when it was tied around the baby's neck or whatever, but the baby was breathing just fine. But yeah, when they cut it, they're cutting the connection. That's not supposed to be cut. It's supposed to naturally, you know what I'm saying, flow. They're cutting a connection with you. Or like you said, those knots represent your 7 chakras. Each flow meets a different knot and keep going up. So spiritual terminology. Sufism is only Arabic voodoo.
Chief Rod, Orisha Stone family, I'm going to go and get my djembe, and we're going to look at the knots on the djembe. I'll be right back. Chief Rod, tell us, keep going with the knots, brother. I'll be right back.
You see knots in every culture. Like in Buddhist art, Angkor Wat, and in the calligraphy of their temple art, you see a lot of knots. Right.
But it's funny to go straight to that in the beginning. The snakes, when they're mating, they're locking each other up. They're tying each other up. So it's real symbolic. That's why I was like, we could have went real deep with that one. But the spider's web, the energetic web, it is Arabic magic. It is Celtic magic. It is ancient African magic as well. Ancient indigenous magic. It's big. It's just they made it.
We used to call it. All of that used to be the earth rights.
Yeah.
And you used to teach the same thing according to the local culture. This is why voodoo and Santeria and the religion of the Bantu all look the same. But Santeria is the um, islanders' way of covering up their traditional culture with the church, with the Catholic Church. So they substituted they Orisha for saints with the same similar characteristics.
And
Right?
you ever notice when they do get the rope, not the rope down, whatever, when certain individuals start waking up to nature and stuff, they have the thing where they tie knots around crystals. You ever seen those it's not always in copper, but sometimes
Look at the knots.
Now look, when you look at that, the distance from the skin at the top and where all of the knots intersect it's got to be on a certain spot on the drum in order to hold it correctly. All those knots are intentional, weaved into the design of tying down the skin across the bongo. It's not a bongo, but we call them all bongos over here, or drums.
This is deep.
Yeah, all of that is goes back to the ancient cultures, because a part of architecture in the intersection of lines, you have to understand what happened if you cross certain lines together in the construction phase. So it's like you deconstructing a knot using 45-degree angles.
I don't know where he went. Okay. All right. Maybe you need to charge his phone. I remember you mentioned, Chief Rod, about, was it you or was it Risha, in the pre-Islamic Arabia, you was talking about a lot. Did you say, was you talking about a lot? And if you had touched on it, tell us about that.
Alat was the moon goddess prior to the advent of Islam. She was the prime deity of the collective tribe. She was the chief deity, the goddess. When the Catholic Church rewrote Islam, they masculinized the feminine. And we don't want to admit that the Catholic Church was responsible for Islam, but their fingerprints is all over the doctrine. From Muhammad's advisors being Christians, his first wife being a Catholic nun, right? So we see the influence of the church, but the doctrine appears different. But when you look at the chapter of Miriam, right, all it is Hail Mary, Mother of God, sacred is thy womb. It's the same thing.
Wow.
So Alat was subverted in the power structure in order for the patriarchs to break up the priestesses that were the original priestesses of the Sufi, which was the divine feminine priests that ruled Arabia until they was attacked in the Hijra. And you know that the Hijra was part of the women's army because they commissioned the elephants. The elephants was under the jurisdictional command of the queens, the female priestesses. She wouldn't just run elephants in the war without cause. That was a different era. We be looking at stuff with modern eyes, but we don't realize the culture of the era and the times make a difference in what you're seeing and what it meant at the time that it happened. Because remember, they only giving us the cliff notes. They're not giving us the intricate day-to-day detail because nobody can write that much stuff down about one person. And we don't really care about when they went to the bathroom, when they washed their ass. That don't need to be in there. Unless it's part of a significant life cliff note, like they was washing their ass and got struck by lightning. That's something to write about. Right? We don't write about people's meals unless we writing about them in the context of like a Last Supper or a sacrificial barbecue that they call a sacrifice, but it was really just a barbecue, and that's why they always talking about the savory scent of the sacrifice. They didn't just kill the animal; they ate that sucker. That's why Yahweh told them to make sure that they bring back all of the ones with no blemish. That means they don't want no defective food products. Bring us the best you got for my meal. Which means Yahweh had to be walking around like a regular man because he was eating sacrifice or barbecue, as we call it today. The altar was the grill. Why you think Abraham was stoking it with sticks when he was about to sacrifice Ishmael? He's about to barbecue his son and eat with the Luna gods.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what Icky said. He was like, man, that's crazy. Why you got that man down there about to barbecue his son? Man, how do you put that ram on there instead? So he sent this messenger. And they call him an angel. He was he was just the guy that come to deliver the message. That's what angel mean. The message deliverer. The mailman. Hey man. The old man said, don't put your son up there. Don't barbecue your son. They ain't finna let them eat your son. Put that goat over there. See him stuck in the thicket. Oh, yeah, good looking. Barbecue goat pretty good, too.
The West Indians up here love some goat. Goat milk, goat cheese, oxtail.
Look, anytime I see a Haitian or a Jamaican restaurant, first thing I ask for is some goat. Do y'all got goat?
What's the difference between goat meat and oxtail meat?
Oxtail is from the cow. Goat is from a goat. In the context of the meat, the bovine beef cow is really too high in what they call saturated fat for human consumption. The excess fat builds up in the brain and gets stuck beyond the blood-brain barrier because in order to get it out of there, you need a carrier oil. This is why they ban hemp oil. Hemp oil was a carrier oil. You rub it on your skin and it'll help you to remove the plaque buildup in the brain. But anyway, so the saturated fat of the bovine beef is why we didn't eat beef. This is why the cow was sacred in India. They would use the product of the cow, the urine, the milk, the dung, the blood, but they didn't eat the meat of the cow because the meat of the cow was unfit for human consumption because it causes that plaque buildup in the brain over time. Whereas goat and lamb, that's what you call a omega-rich unsaturated fat or polyunsaturated fat, which is like putting a clear liquid oil through the brain instead of lard. So instead of the plaque, which looks like lard,